Hi guys, I wanted to finish going over the notes with you all for Objective 6A. Last week we talked about the food web portion of that and how animals and plants are connected, kind of showing you who eats who. But this week we're going to talk about how when you eat an animal or an animal gets eaten by something else, there's energy that's transferred, right? So the whole reason you want to eat is that you're going to use that food to make ATP, that usable energy, so your body can do whatever it needs to do. Okay, so for this picture that we have on the screen, we actually can see that everything starts with the sun. The sun is what is providing the energy for everything on Earth. So if the sun is going to provide energy, right, it can go into the plants. The plants can use photosynthesis to actually make food for themselves. So here we're starting out, the sun is providing 1,000 joules of energy, and that's going to go into the plant. But when the plant gets eaten, not all of that energy that it got from the sun is going to be available to use for food, right, when the other thing eats it. So even though we had 1,000 joules from the sun, only 10 joules of that energy is going to get passed on to the thing that eats it. Okay, so the other 990 would get lost in the environment, or it gets used by the plant for whatever it needs. So when this thing eats the plant, it's only going to get 10 joules of energy. And then in turn, when this thing gets eaten, right, by our top consumer, only 10% of that is going to get passed on to our lion. Okay, so the this animal would only get 10 joules, and this animal would only get 1 joules. Okay, so that's actually called the rule of 10%, where only 10% of the energy is passed on to the next organism as you move up a food chain. And the further you go up the food chain, the less energy will be available for that population. So we can kind of summarize this in something called an ecological pyramid. And this actually shows us the organization of an ecosystem based on the size and energy amount in each population. So each level of the pyramid is called a trophic level, and the most energy and the largest population will be found at the lowest trophic level, which will be the producers. And the least energy and the smallest population is found at the highest trophic level, so at the very top of that pyramid, and that would be the top consumers. So if we look at this example here, at the bottom we have our producers, right? And the producers get eaten by the primary consumers. So the primary consumers are right on top of that. They would then get eaten by the secondary consumers. So we have our next level is the secondary consumers. Those secondary consumers get eaten by tertiary consumers. So those are at the top. In this case, our tertiary consumers could also be called top consumers. You'll notice there is an arrow on the left side going from high to low energy, and the right side going from a large population to a small population. So just a reminder, the producers would have the most energy and the largest population. So there'd be the most producers in this ecological pyramid. And as we move to the top, we're getting less energy and we're getting smaller populations. And we end at the top with our top consumers having the lowest amount of energy and the smallest population. So you can imagine there would be lots and lots of plants, right, in the world, and they're working to harvest that energy from the sun. And there's not very many top consumers, right? So there would be fewer lions, for example, than there are plants. Okay.